Most systems don't fail because they're broken. They fail because they're doing exactly what they were designed to do. When people struggle inside systems, at work, in healthcare, in education, or in everyday life, they're often told the problem is effort, attitude, or discipline. But more often than not, the problem isn't the individual, it's the incentives. Systems reward what they can measure, and what they can measure is rarely the same thing as what actually matters. This is why so many systems quietly reward the wrong behavior. Take almost any large system. It doesn't matter whether it's corporate, bureaucratic, digital, or social. At some point, it has to decide what success looks like. Because complex outcomes are hard to track, systems rely on proxies, numbers that are easier to count, metrics, benchmarks, targets. These measurements are meant to represent performance, but over time, they begin to replace it. When a system rewards hitting a number instead of achieving a real outcome, behavior starts to shift. People optimize for the metric, not the purpose. The system isn't broken. It's responding logically to the signals it's given. In workplaces, this often looks like productivity being measured by visibility rather than impact. Meetings become more important than results. Busyness becomes a substitute for effectiveness. In healthcare, success can become about throughput rather than healing. Shorter visits look efficient on paper, even if outcomes worsen over time. In education, test scores become more valuable than understanding. Teaching shifts toward what's measurable, not what's meaningful. The same pattern repeats everywhere. When metrics become rewards, behavior follows. This creates a quiet distortion. People who appear successful inside the system may not be producing the best outcomes. They're simply better at navigating the incentives. Meanwhile, people who focus on doing the right thing can find themselves penalized, not because they're wrong, but because their work doesn't register cleanly. Over time, this creates frustration. Individuals feel like they're failing, even when they're doing exactly what the system claims to value. Burnout increases, trust erodes, and the blame quietly shifts downward. When outcomes worsen, systems rarely question their own design. Instead, responsibility is placed on individuals. Work harder, adapt faster, be more resilient. But resilience can't fix misaligned incentives. At scale, systems don't respond to intent. They respond to structure. This is why the same problems reappear even after reforms. Policies change, language updates, but the underlying reward mechanisms remain intact, and behavior stays the same. There's a quiet psychological cost to this. When people repeatedly fail inside systems they don't control, they internalize the failure. They assume something is wrong with them. But in many cases, the system is functioning exactly as designed, just not in a way that serves human outcomes. Understanding this doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean disengaging. It means shifting where blame belongs. Once you see how incentives shape behavior, confusion turns into clarity. personal struggle stops feeling like personal failure. You begin to recognize patterns instead of absorbing pressure. And that awareness changes how you move through systems. Not by fighting them directly, but by understanding what they reward, what they ignore, and what they quietly discourage. Systems don't need villains to produce harmful outcomes. They only need incentives that drift away from reality. Understanding that difference is often the first step toward regaining agency, quietly and without burnout.